All aboard, hearties! Welcome to Hope Valley Central Station.
Your transportation to Hope Valley with your conductors, Kerri
and Morgan. Welcome back, hearties!
Welcome back!
So we've got a fun episode for you guys. If you can't tell by the title, we're going to be talking about some serious stuff this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes from episode 9. So if you guys haven't watched that episode and you don't want to have any spoilers, or maybe you're a person who likes the spoilers. If you do, feel free to continue watching this episode. But if you don't like spoilers, you might want to click out that exit button and go to watch the episode. But please sure to come back because we're going to be discussing some really great stuff. So
I'm really glad we're going into something in depth this time. I mean, I love our fun. I love our fun ones, and we're going to have fun on this one. But I'm really glad we're getting into some nitty gritty stuff in this one, and I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, because I mean, the discussion, obviously, if you can't tell from the title, is going to be discussing some real life stuff, and I'm glad that Hallmark is going down this road because everyone's always said, life is not a Hallmark movie. Life isn't like this. This is not reality. Things don't just happen the way that they've been happening in these movies. So I'm glad they're getting, Hallmark is, When Calls the Heart has always like dug into some pretty great real stuff, but to actually see more of it in depth, it's been really great. So before we get into the subjects of what the title is, we want to discuss some more stuff that's been happening in this episode. So Kerri, if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, y'all know Morgan and I are both Team Nathan. If you don't know that, you haven't watched our lives or our podcast or anything. But I have to say, Lucas was killing it in episode 9. I was very impressed. Like, I've always tried to watch, I've been Team Nathan from the start, but I've always tried to watch it objectively of if she could choose Lucas. And I'm like, he just is not showing me he's got what it takes to be a leading man. Like, he does not have enough of a story. He does not have enough scenes. Which I think it was the Hardy Detective on Instagram just did a post about that, which was really, really interesting. I love how they break down the numbers on that.
Yeah.
But this was the first episode that I went, okay, he's got some leading man qualities in there.
Yeah.
So I was like, you're gonna have to I have lived in Missouri. I'm not from Missouri, but I have lived in Missouri. You gotta show me. You gotta show me. And so I was kind of like, okay, you're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to convince me that he is able to. And I have to say that was a dang good start on convincing he was able to.
I agree because I mean, I like you, I was like, when is Lucas gonna show that he could actually lead this show?
Yeah.
That he could actually be a good leading man for Elizabeth. Because I would feel like with you doing this love triangle, you wouldn't make it so easy to make it pick sides. Which I'm not saying they have. It's just whenever you're someone who's been an avid watcher of the show and you know the shoes that they have to fill that Daniel Lissing has left, like, that's some pretty big shoes to fill. And you've got to really be a leading man material in order to do this. And I was not really feeling it at first. And it's not until probably the last couple of episodes that I've really been seeing him step his game up. And I'm like, okay, finally. I hate that it's at the very end, but hey. But yeah, I love so many scenes from Lucas this episode. Specifically, my favorite is definitely, and you know which one it is, Kerri. It's definitely the one with Allie.
Uncle Lucas.
Uncle Lucas.
We've got to see that. We have got to see that. Oh my gosh.
Because it would only be right for her, like, now that Nathan is going into like being really the dad now. Like, not saying he hasn't been her dad. It's just, he's hopefully going to retire the name Uncle Nathan and now become dad or daddy, however she feels comfortable saying. Maybe Lucas could be her new uncle, like the little fun uncle that gives her maraschino cherries and keeps teaching her card tricks.
He would be the fun uncle. He would be the fun uncle that she doesn't get to have.
Yeah, and I could see them talking about books because, Allie is a book reader too, which I think she got from her Uncle Nathan. Because we found out in this episode that, Nathan does have some literature background. but I would love to see some scenes between Lucas and Allie. I think that was just so sweet.
It was.
I think that
it was heart melting.
Yeah, and I think that this was an episode that hopefully Team Lucas can start forgiving Allie for, even though I feel like Allie doesn't really need their forgiveness. You know what? Never mind. Anyways,
can I bring up, like, while we're talking about this scene? I wasn't planning on bringing this up until later, but while we're talking about this scene, can I go ahead and bring up a little interesting point to me?
Yeah.
The fact that Lucas himself portrayed himself as the middleman here, as the one coming between Nathan and Elizabeth. That just kind of stuck out as interesting to me, because I'm like, he's not portraying Nathan as the one that's coming between him and Elizabeth. He's portraying himself as the one coming between. And I realized he was talking to Allie, but still, that just kind of stuck out to me, and I just wanted to bring that up. But
it was in a way that was different than how Nathan is becoming in between. The way that I see Lucas meaning that is that he's going to get in the middle of Nathan approaching Elizabeth and trying to, keep pushing her and keep, going after Elizabeth, which, y'all, come on. Nathan is not even doing that. Elizabeth's the one that's always seeking Nathan out. But
and I mean, if she seeks him out, he'll tell her what he thinks. But
exactly.
What was it? Was it Ben that tweeted something about that? Basically, that Nathan finally found his voice, and now he's just saying whatever comes to his mind.
with the Jim Kerri, Jim Kerri gif, or however you say that word. I think he had a different way of putting that, though, because whenever he comes, like the next episode, the next scene that I really love about Lucas is him coming to the church and actually having a discussion with Elizabeth. He's not just coming to invite her off on a date or any of that. It's an actual, like, serious conversation.
Bless you. I mean, granted, the conversation was about Nathan and Allie again.
But I don't know, it kind of had a little bit of a different feel. It had a different feel.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell that the way Lucas was putting it was that he was going to be defending Elizabeth to Nathan. Like, hey, you might need to back off. She's obviously, but Elizabeth said, I don't want to be put in the middle of you and Nathan. And it was like, I wasn't really seeing you being in the middle. I saw me being in the middle, almost protecting you from him.
Right.
Like, he didn't realize that Elizabeth still saw her like, it's like he didn't realize that Elizabeth was still thinking that she was in the middle of them and not beside Lucas or behind Lucas. You know what I mean? That's just my interpretation of it.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I think really what we're seeing there is just Elizabeth's little Miss Independence side coming out, because she's basically saying, like, at the end of the episode, she told Rosemary, I never asked him to be noble. I never asked him to fall in love with me. Like, he came here to protect me. When Nathan told Elizabeth that he came there to basically make sure she was okay, to look out for her, she was like, what made you think you had to do that? Like, her little Miss Independence side is what's coming out.
Yeah. No, I and Elizabeth's always been like that. Elizabeth's always been that independent. She was like that with Jack.
Oh yeah.
So she made sure Jack knew that she did not need him protecting her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about this scene out in front of one of their earliest interactions, when all those crates of books had arrived, and she was like struggling trying to carry them in, and Jack's like, do you want some help? And she's like, no, I got it. Just kind of, didn't want his help. And then he's like, please allow me. Like, just kind of like,
and he was kind of struggling a little bit. Which I found kind of funny, that he kind of struggled a little bit too with it.
Yeah.
But I like this, how they're showing Lucas now. We obviously see that in the wedding, either they're in the reception hall of the saloon, either before the wedding or after the wedding. We see that Lucas and Nathan are going to have a discussion. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to what we're going to see from Lucas. Because also there's obviously the big scene that came with the sneak peek of him coming to Elizabeth's house and having and getting another bomb kind of dropped on him a little bit. Elizabeth finally told Lucas that Nathan told her he loved her again.
Cheeks, buy me a soda. We did it that time.
I think we make Fiona and Clara proud there.
Yeah, I think so.
We finally did it.
But, yeah, we never do that, guys. We're all the time. Yeah, one or the other of us says it. So that's like, man, we have video evidence that we actually can do it at the same time. High five.
Yes. But and you could tell that he said it because he repeats it. He's like, so what did you say to Nathan after he told you he loved you again? And kind of dropped his head and was like, yeah. So it's like you could tell that he puts an emphasis on there because he didn't even know he did it first time.
Right.
And then he even said that he wasn't really bothered by it. And Elizabeth kind of had a disappointed face, like almost like she wanted him to be offended, which kind of struck me.
Yeah, it struck me as interesting, and we kind of need to get off of Lucas and get into what we're talking about. But it struck me as interesting that when she invited him inside, that he looked inside and then was kind of like, I need to go to work. Almost like he knew he did not belong in there, that he knew he had no right to be in her house, that would be an invasion. And that just stuck out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it did me too, because like he's been invited. This is the second time he's been invited inside her house. And it's like the fourth time, probably more, that he's actually been at her house, like on the porch or at the steps or like in front of her house on the street, So
yeah.
Home is where the heart is, just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, her home really does symbolize her heart, which is actually something that I'll bring up. Guys, we did so much like going and listening to YouTube videos on grief and watching the clips from past episodes, watching the episode 9 again, making notes, whatever. So I actually have some notes that I'll bring up later in the episode. But if you're kind of wondering, like, if the title sounds familiar, we were really debating like what to title this, and I got to thinking, and I messaged Morgan, and I was like, do you remember season 1, the plaque, the little piece of wood that Noah Stanton had left, which was Abigail's husband, in case y'all don't know who that is, that he had written, "Forgive me, Pa." He knew he was not coming home. He knew he was not going to make it out of there, so he wanted to leave a note to his family. And I was like, in a similar way, Jack left that letter for Elizabeth in case he never came home. And so in essence, what we want to talk about today is, or whenever you're listening to this, tonight when we're recording this, whatever, is kind of what Jack would be feeling about all of this, Elizabeth's grief, Elizabeth's guilt, Nathan's guilt and grief, in a sense. That's kind of what we want to talk about in this particular episode.
Yeah,
so,
I think
I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. And I think this is a topic that needs to be discussed. Especially
absolutely.
Because I'm just going to go ahead and say this. People are not happy with Nathan, and people are not happy with Elizabeth right now. And their frustrations, which is justified, everyone's justified to feel frustrated with everything that's going on in the episode. But because even Aaron Krakow has said that everyone's justified to feel frustrated, but what's not justified is hating.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people are not, like, I myself was feeling frustrated this episode for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into those as the subject comes up. But Elizabeth's behavior, her behavior to certain people in her life, and so on. I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling angry. But then I talked to Kerri and I'm like, I'm going to sleep on it because obviously, and I'm going to do some research on grief. I'm going to do some backtracking to other episodes because I want to be able to really have grace and mercy for Elizabeth right now. And that's what she deserves. And sure enough, that's I slept on it. I did my research on it and I was like, yeah. I'm not saying that Elizabeth, what she's doing doesn't deserve an apology for.
Right.
But she's got to get there. She even said it in herself that she even told Lucas in the schoolhouse that I'm not myself here. Like, I'm not myself right now. I'm not thinking straight. I'm not, my thoughts are everywhere.
No way. We hadn't noticed. Been completely normal.
Absolutely normal, Elizabeth. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're just being your norm, calm, cool, sweet self.
Yeah. Or as Jack said in his letter, you're the perfect woman.
Yeah.
So she was just being her normal, perfect self.
Perfect self.
She was just being Mary Poppins, practically perfect.
No, but yeah. But yeah, I think so if you're watching this and you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling angry, I'm telling you this episode's going to help you because we're going to discuss some things that are really going to open your eyes to things. And hope that you will go back if you've sent hate to Aaron or Kevin or Chris or Jada or anyone, that you will
or
go
John
back
Tinker.
and delete, or John Tinker
or Brian Bird.
Jinx, Bobby Soda.
Bobby Soda. Guys, we might be talking about it. We might be talking about a serious subject. That does not mean we're going to be serious.
Yeah.
I'll just say it.
We can't, honestly.
We're not connected.
Yeah. But yeah, anybody that's on the show, if you sent anyone hate on the show, the actual actors, like, please, guys, I cannot stress this enough. The actors are not their characters.
Exactly.
They're not in the writer's room feeding on these ideas. Yes, Erin is an executive producer, but she has said it herself. There's only so much an executive producer can do. They don't sit in the writer's room saying, "Oh, I don't like that idea. We need to do this idea." They don't do that. She can put her input of what she wants to do with the character, and I'm sure they have that closeness to the writers and stuff to where like Kevin or anybody can kind of put like their own little ideas or pitch for their character, but that doesn't.
I mean, the whole storyline for Nathan's Secret, I think Kevin said that was something that him and Aaron had been fighting for like a year. To happen. Yeah. So that was something that him and Aaron pitched.
Aaron did say that she wanted to see some more depth to Elizabeth, but I'm sure she didn't completely mean this.
Yeah. It's like, I meant depth. I didn't mean I fell down a well into Wonderland chasing a white rabbit around.
Yeah.
With his little pocket watch.
And teacup.
And his teacup. Cheeks Bobby Soda. Guys, I'm sorry. I'll try to behave. Okay.
That's gonna be very hard for her. But anyways, so yeah, so if you have sent hate towards these people, please go back and delete those comments. They probably have seen it. Don't think that they're too big to see your comment, because I'm sure they are. I'm sure they have. Kevin has said many times he has seen people's edits and their videos and stuff like that. So I'm sure Aaron and Jada and many others have also. And plus, Jada's young.
Yeah.
I mean, she's young. She's a young actress. This is probably her first real big series to ever be on, and she does not need you to hate on her and send her hate. So
I mean, maybe even send them an apology.
Yeah, instead go onto your comment and say, "I'm sorry that I ever said these horrible things to you."
Yeah. Or even if you haven't ever said anything like that to them, if you're in support of them, go leave them a comment and tell them that.
Yeah, definitely.
Make somebody's day.
Yeah,
what does it take? 5 seconds?
Their day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just say I love you, or just put some hearts in their comments or something. So moving on to that, off of there, another topic that we could probably talk into to get into what we're going to talk about is, I guess, like you said in here, like Jack's letter.
Yeah.
we went back and we watched that scene. We went back and watched the funeral scene. We went back and watched when she got the news of Jack's death. When she got pregnant whenever Abigail told her she was pregnant.
We didn't watch when she got pregnant with little Jack.
Like Kevin said, we don't see those scenes. We don't get to see those scenes.
I'm sorry, I've got to shut up.
Yeah. We're trying to keep it PG over here, Kerri.
I'm sorry. Guys, we're recording this on Monday. I just gotta say, y'all missed a heck of a live last night. And it is sparking its own little episode coming up at some point out here.
You guys are gonna think that we done went nuts. You guys are gonna think that we done,
yeah,
just, I don't know. Anyways, so we've seen how Elizabeth has dealt with her grief on the show before, obviously getting this bombshell of Nathan's secret. And me and Kerri both agree we have not seen enough of Elizabeth grieving. We have not seen her go through all the steps. We'll explain the steps that we know that everyone knows about grief. And Abigail even said herself on the show, I don't know which episode and I don't know which season. I want to say it's the same season as Jack's death, but everyone grieves differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can get through all the steps and still feel horrible for still being alive, and that person's not alive. Or they get stuck on this one step and they can't move on to the next step.
Right.
For instance, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Elizabeth is stuck in the anger stage. She's angry. She's angry at herself. She's angry at Jack. I think she's even somewhat angry at Nathan and even Rosemary, but not because of what they've said or done. Just, when you're dealing with so much anger, it's like you don't know where to put it, so you start just projecting it.
Well, and sometimes because the truth hurts and you don't always want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Would it be okay if we kind of started this at Jack and then moved into Elizabeth and then into Nathan? Would that work for you?
Guys, we're still kind of learning how to do all of this because we've only done a few episodes. So it's just
what is this?
trial
Episode
and error.
6, I think.
Yeah. We've only done 6 episodes. We just started this. So we're learning. So you guys are getting to see us learn.
Yeah. But something that I've seen people and even heard people say is basically obviously blaming Nathan for Jack's death or whatever. And here, let me just read off what I posted in my Insta stories and took a screenshot of this. I said, Jack knew he might not come home. So he left a letter for Elizabeth. He only ever wanted her to be happy and cared for, which he knew meant moving on. Nathan had nothing to do with Jack's death. Let's just settle that once and for all.
Well, Nathan, actually, can I say something about the letter?
Yeah.
I don't think he wrote that letter before he went to Fort Clay.
No, I think he wrote it before he went to the Northern Territories.
Yeah, because he even said that there's no danger where I'm going. The only thing that would possibly cause any harm to me is me yelling at the recruits and getting a sore throat or something like that. So he wrote this letter.
I just meant that he knew at some point in time he might not come home.
Yeah,
is what I meant, because he basically just left that.
Well, because he basically just. Yeah, just to those who maybe think that it was written before Fort Clay, it wasn't. Right. It was most likely put in there before the Northern Territories. So sorry, continue.
No, you're good. You're good. Nathan had nothing to do with Jack's death. Anyone could have taken that assignment.
Oh yeah.
It's not like Nathan went, oh, I'm suspended, and they went, hey, well, who would you want to take your place? And he goes, hey, this guy Jack Thornton, he sounds great. Why don't you get him? It's not like that. Nathan was suspended. He probably didn't even know who they got to take his place until the accident happened.
Yeah, until he read about the accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he probably didn't even know. And again, anybody could have taken that assignment. But if Jack had taken over just anyone's assignment, say, to me, this was providential, I think it's the word. that if Jack had taken over just anyone's assignment, they probably wouldn't have requested a transfer to Hope Valley to watch over Elizabeth. Not just anybody would have done that.
No, again, he never met Jack, never served with Jack. I'm pretty sure he was already in Fort Simpson by the time that they replaced him. I feel like he wasn't even in the fort whenever Jack and them showed up. He could have been. He could have been in an office doing paperwork, doing doing the report about his arrests and everything like that, and of course probably signing a bunch of papers that talk about how he was suspended from the but again, he never met Jack. He never served with Jack.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't see him saying anything.
Yeah. But here's the thing that a lot of people, I'm sorry, I know y'all love Jack. We love Jack. Everybody loves Jack. The reason Jack died, Daniel Lissing left the show.
Yeah.
That is the only reason Jack died. If Daniel had not wanted to leave the show, Jack would still be alive. So it's not anyone's fault except Daniel's that he died. So if you want to blame somebody, blame Daniel. I'm kidding, y'all. Seriously, I'm kidding.
Guys, keep this in mind whenever you start hating on Daniel. Had he not left the show, we wouldn't have gotten these incredible men on the show now. We would have never seen Kevin McGarry. We would have never met Nathan. Never would have met Lucas. Probably would have never met Fiona and them either.
Daniel wouldn't have met his wife.
Daniel wouldn't met his wife, and you can tell that Daniel's happy. So that's all that matters.
Yes.
But agreed. The only reason why we're even having to go through this whole entire thing is because Daniel chose to leave the show. And he has every right to choose to leave the show. And the writers had every right to kill him off.
Yeah. But here's the thing, guys, and this is another thing I wrote down. Jack's death would have happened no matter the circumstances. It was his time.
Yeah.
In the essence of things, what Morgan, I think you called it an act of God. Because he died in a landslide. It wasn't even that he died.
That's a natural disaster kind of thing. That's that's by nature. That's not
like
by
a
man.
Freak accident thing.
Yeah. Some people say it's an act of God. Some people say it's just a freak accident. Some people it says that it's a natural error or something like that. Everyone has their own way of calling it whatever it is. I say it's an act of God, but whatever.
Yeah, but just keep that in mind, guys. Jack's death would have happened no matter anything with Nathan. That was a storyline that came about after Jack's death. So that was not even how, in the beginning. But in dying as he did, he left provision for Elizabeth's care and permission to accept the new love offered her and to reciprocate it. He wouldn't want Nathan or Elizabeth, either one, to feel guilty for loving each other.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I will say this also, and I think we talked about this. And I want to say they mentioned something along these lines in the show, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I think Elizabeth had a discussion with someone, and they pretty much said that, loving a Mountie would always result in a death. Something along that lines, or saying that Jack was always going to be that man who would go off and do what he needed to do, that he was not a man who would sit back and let another man do something he was well and able to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it wasn't Fort Clay, it would have been another mission down the road. I know that the episode they said that, I think Elizabeth said, I thought we were done with this. And he says, we almost are, but I've got to do this. I feel like that wouldn't have been the last one either if he came home and survived. I think that they were kind of kidding themselves even having that discussion, because Jack was never going to stop being going off and doing what he felt like. If it wasn't the Northern Territories and it wasn't Fort Clay, it's not going to be anything. It's not, there's never going to be enough for Jack. He would literally have to be like on his deathbed or lose a limb or have literally the Mounties tell him, you can't do this anymore for him to stop. But that would be, but like Elizabeth said, she doesn't want to change him. Right. She didn't want to change him. She knew that was part of who he was.
Yeah, she specifically told him that in the mind, that I would never change that about you. I would never want to change that about you.
And she told Clara in the kitchen that she would do it all over again if it meant that she would get the chance to love Jack again. Even with him dying, even with her ending up being pregnant with little Jack, especially being able to be pregnant with little Jack, but having to go through the pregnancy by herself and all of that kind of stuff, she would still choose Jack again. So yeah.
To kind of move us on to the next point, unless you have something else to say on that, I would like to read off Jack's letter just kind of as a reminder to everybody else, because like we just watched these clips, so this is fresh in our minds, but just to kind of refresh y'all's minds where we're going with this, whatever. Jack's letter was, "My dearest Elizabeth, I'm writing a letter I hope you never have to read. If you are, then you know that I won't be coming home. Take comfort that I will be watching over you for the rest of your days. I will always be with you in spirit, but I need you to promise me one thing, Elizabeth, that you will open your heart to love again. Know that I want nothing more than your happiness. You are the perfect woman. You showed me what it feels like to be truly loved. For that, I'm eternally grateful. Yours forever, Jack." So, I mean, Jack literally told her, "I want you to move on." Because he knew she deserved to be happy, and that all he ever wanted for her was for her to be happy and to be taken care of. And when I said a few minutes ago that he left provision for her to be taken care of, I believe that was a God wink thing, that he took over Nathan's assignment, because again, not just any Mountie, like I know the Mounties take care of their own, but not just any Mountie, I believe, would have literally gone in and requested a transfer to this town, uprooted his niece that he's raising on his own accord, that he doesn't have to, I mean, he literally gave up so many things in his life to raise his niece. And now he's giving up chances at being promoted to inspector and all these different things. He's basically given up the chance at an incredible career to come make sure Elizabeth's okay. So, I mean, Nathan is a completely selfless man. And, well, okay, I won't say completely because nobody is without their flaws, but he's a very selfless man. And so for me, I almost feel like, again, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I almost feel like Jack brought them together. In a sense, I feel like that was a God wink thing.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, God was the one that brought them together, but through Jack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, so, I agree, and I think going back to Jack's letter, didn't his mother never move on after his father died? Because his father was a Mountie, and his father got killed in action, and I don't think his mother ever moved on. And I think him and Elizabeth even had that conversation where he was like, "I don't ever want you to end up like my mother. I don't want you to sit around and not move on, not move on, and just grieve me for the rest of your life and grieve our love story." And not move on. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they had that conversation. If not, I feel like that was part of the reason why he wrote that letter. Because I guess his father never got a chance to write a letter to his mother to tell her to move on.
Yeah.
Another thing is like you were saying, yes, I do believe that, because I've heard stories of military men going and trying to make sure that for the first few months, looking after some of the widows that would happen after war. Some of the men would come back and they would try and do what they could to kind of help the widows if maybe they're fallen comrades. But still, I mean, I think it is pretty selfless of Nathan for him to just, be like, you know what, I want to do this.
Yeah.
It's like Joseph was saying in the wagon with Lee whenever they went and got the bell. It was like a heart it's like a pulling on his heart. It was like, I'm the reason why
calling.
It's something was calling him to do it.
The call of the wild. No, I mean, seriously though, the call that goes back to the call of the wild.
Yeah, that's true. And it goes back to, like Joseph said, I love how like all the other storylines will say something or hint to something that is mixing it with the love story, with the love triangle. But I don't think that he completely just went to Hope Valley completely for Elizabeth and little Jack. I feel like that was his big driving force. But I could also see him trying to convince himself that it would be good for Allie too. I think Allie was in his decision making too. I think because Allie kind of expressed that she didn't really like Florence Simpson, because I think she made that she said something about at Christmas it was just all these old
There were a
smelly
bunch of men in
guys
red suits.
that all making boring speeches in the mess hall. He's like, well, at least there was red suits, and she was just like, and he was like, okay, sorry. Bad joke.
Yeah.
Lily, move out of the camera. Oh my God. Y'all, don't get dogs. Dogs just ruin everything. No, I'm just joking.
Never mind the cat that walks in front of her camera all the time when she and I are video chatting.
Well, we're not trying to do a podcast here with my dog's butt in the camera. But I feel like he was also trying to see it. Like he probably heard some things about Hope Valley, or like did his research about Hope Valley and was like, it's a small town. He probably heard about the tragedy from the coal mining and how there was a bunch of widows in town, and he knew that Elizabeth was the school teacher. I feel like he would know all these kind of things, and he would be like, you know what, I think that Allie would be good here. Depending on how long we stayed, he probably didn't even have any intentions of staying very long either.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Hope Valley has a way of drawing people in.
Yeah, you might be coming to Hope Valley just for a visit or just to do some business and then leave, but you never leave.
Yeah.
It's like a parallel universe, and you just like you're stuck there.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely think of worse places to be. So yeah.
That's true. I wouldn't mind living in Hope Valley. But yeah, but like you said, I
think kind of my point in wanting to bring up Jack is just to reiterate the fact that they have no reason to feel guilty, because Jack specifically told her to move on and to open her heart to love again. So Jack would have died regardless, because it was his time. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that we are not on this earth, that basically if you still woke up this morning, here's my belief. Yes, that God does not leave us here a day longer than he has to.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that. And I believe that in this story, obviously Daniel-son was leaving the show, but in this story, Jack was there for a purpose. Who knows if his purpose might have been to bring Nathan and Elizabeth together. I mean, I'm just saying it's possible.
I believe that too. I believe that we are never on this earth. I mean, even our own actions don't always depict God's plans for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel like no matter what we do, that God's going to take us out of here when God wants to take us out of here.
Yep.
So I do, and I mean, maybe the whole reason why he even wanted Elizabeth and Jack together so that they would have that love, because they changed each other. Mm-hmm. Jack changed Elizabeth for the better. Hope Valley changed Elizabeth for the better. Abigail changed Elizabeth for the better, and she vice versa.
Well, and how many lives that Jack touched in Hope Valley? It wasn't just Elizabeth. He was beloved by the entire town.
Mm-hmm. Like his relationship with Cody, his relationship with Abigail, his relationship with Bill.
He saved Opal's life.
Yeah. So I do feel like, and I feel like it was Jack that, God made things happen the way that they happen for a reason. But like you said, I don't believe that he would want Nathan or Elizabeth to feel like they have any reason to feel guilty about his death. And you know what I would love to see? I would love to see Elizabeth find his letter again, read it, and then give it to Nathan and be like, he wouldn't want us to feel this way. He wouldn't want us to be just consumed by guilt.
That would be a beautiful moment.
That would be really beautiful. And I think that would be really something for Nathan too, to finally see her come to him and try and comfort him with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So to kind of move on to Elizabeth, we did some like YouTube research. Like we kind of already knew a lot of stuff, but we did some YouTube research and stuff on this. And the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And I agree with something Morgan said, that I believe she's stuck in the anger mode.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And they don't always go in that order.
No.
They go out of order, and some people don't even go through all of the steps.
Right.
I think that I don't think she had the denial when it actually first came out, because she fell to the ground with saying no. So that was kind of her brief encounter with that. She obviously had depression through obviously the funeral and stuff, and not returning to school for a while, and she was wearing a lot of black that episode. So I feel like that was her depression stage. I don't think she ever touched the bargaining part.
Yeah.
I think she kind of.
I really feel like that would really apply.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to really bargain with that. I don't think she would ever really even have an ability to bargain.
Well, I mean, we might not have seen that. Like that might have been early on in her, kind of denial stage of kind of being, praying, God, don't let this be Jack. Don't let it. That could have been something that we just didn't see.
Like please let them have made a mistake or something. Yeah, true. That's true.
So
I didn't think about that.
I didn't either till just now. So that could have been something that we didn't really see with her.
Yeah,
she might have done.
Yeah. Oh, what's the other stages? Anger, and then
sorry, I got off of it. Hang on. Anger and acceptance.
All she needs to do is accept it now, which I think that she was making her way to accepting it, or she just didn't realize just how much she still hadn't grieved yet. And also, it's like I told Kerri on FaceTime the other day, earlier today. I said it's almost like her grief has just been this big puzzle piece in her big puzzle in her mind. And all of a sudden, Nathan just gave her a piece to this puzzle that she didn't even know was missing.
Yeah.
And that she didn't really know was going to impact this picture so much. Because now she's jumbling to like fit it in there and try and grieve that piece of information. She does. I don't think it's like somebody said, and I think I wrote it down. Elizabeth isn't blaming Nathan for the actual secret. She's not blaming Nathan for his part in, if he even had really, honestly, I don't a true part in in Jack's death. But she's more blaming the fact that he hadn't told her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this episode 9 of season 8 opened with her saying, since learning Jack was killed on a training mission on which he went in Nathan's stead, I've been left to reflect once more on the senseless accident that took his life. So, I mean, even she said it's an accident. Like, it's just it's a senseless thing, while questioning why Nathan kept this hidden from me for so long.
Yeah. So she's
saying it's an accident.
Yeah.
She's writing this in her journal.
Yeah. So
that's your deepest thoughts.
Like, even her deepest thoughts can't even blame Nathan truly for Jack's death. She knows it was a senseless accident. That Nathan had no real hand in his death.
Exactly.
But it's just that he kept it from her. And this is just me, and it could be because I love Nathan and I love his character so much. But I'm not really completely angry at him for keeping this for so long from her. I don't completely blame him. I can't imagine having to tell someone that. Especially someone that I'm in love with, and I know that this information is not going to help them. It's not going to bring Jack back. He was probably saying like this secret is not going to bring Jack back to her. If anything, it's just going to open that wound again for her to grieve. He probably even thought, like, this is going to completely destroy our friendship. He's probably not even going to be able to forgive me because he's in survivor's guilt mode. So he's already blaming himself. He could see where he could blame himself and everything. And that, why, if I can blame myself, how can she not blame me?
Right.
So I get it. I'm not now. Yes, if it was me, if I was Elizabeth and I was getting this, I probably would be mad at someone. But I think eventually she'll understand that why. I think eventually she will understand.
Well, I wrote down a lot of lines from the show to use on here, but when Elizabeth came out of her house, ran into Rosemary, and Rosemary's like, "How are you doing?" And Elizabeth said, "The only thing that makes sense to me right now is the love I feel for my son." Well, then Rosemary starts talking about Florence and Ned, and kind of why it took them so long, blah blah blah. And Elizabeth said, "Why do you suppose Nathan took so long to tell me about Fort Clay?" And Rosemary said, "Well, perhaps he didn't think it was important enough to warrant upsetting you." Elizabeth said, "Not important enough." And Rosemary said, "Elizabeth, Jack's death wasn't Nathan's fault. You know that, don't you?" And Elizabeth said, "Rosemary, I just told you that nothing made sense to me. So why would you think a comment like that would help?" And Rosemary said, "Because it's the truth."
And it brought that her saying that brought something back to me. Lee and Rosemary had a fight. I think it was because of her taking his car and almost crashing it into the mercantile. Remember, they kind of blew up. And Elizabeth was going to come and stay at Elizabeth's house because they were in a fight and she didn't want to see Lee. She was mad, all that kind of stuff, saying that, like, how dare he, and all this kind of stuff. And Elizabeth finally cracked and she's like, "How dare you?
You can be a pain in the side."
Yeah, pain in my, you can be a pain in, and Rosemary went, side. Like, Rosemary, you have an incredible man who loves you, who does everything for you, who will do anything you want him to.
Right.
And you're over here because you're mad at him for justifyingly feeling this way for you stealing his car. And almost crashing it.
Like, and almost getting yourself hurt or killed on top of that.
Yeah, like, and she was, and like, she sat down, she's like, she said something along the lines of like, I want to say something along the lines of just something truth, like, like, but I know something like, that was really harsh, but I know it's the truth. So thank you for telling me the truth, even though it hurts. And I think Elizabeth says, "What are friends for?" Friends are not meant to tell you what you need to hear. Friends are meant to, like, true friends, true, real, the kind of friends that stick with you for life, aren't just going to sugarcoat information for you just because you're not maybe feeling in the mindset to accept it. If anything, they're there to tell you the truth no matter what, because it's what you need to hear. And it could be the very thing that helps you to get out of feeling what you're feeling. So I don't blame I don't blame Rosemary for biting her tongue. And plus, everyone has to remember, Rosemary and Jack pretty much grew up together. They were in each other's lives way longer than Elizabeth and Jack were in each other's lives. It's no different from her relationship with Julie. Now, yes, Jack and Rosemary were engaged at one point and all of this kind of stuff. But also, another thing, Rosemary's dad was also a Mountie. So she has really been into all of this. She's been surrounded by Mounties her whole life. She understands how easy they are taken away from their families and all of that kind of stuff, and how hard it is. So, but again, Elizabeth is caught up in her grief to where she's not thinking straight. She's just so ate up with anger and loss and grief that she just can't help but lash out.
Yeah.
And it's like it's easy to lash out to the ones that you love.
Right.
So.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, I do believe, and we'll get into the scene between her and Nathan in the office here in just a minute, but I do believe she's carrying some guilt of moving on from Jack. And honestly, I think one reason that it's so hard for her to, because I mean, that girl is looking for any and every excuse to not be with Nathan. Like, she is basically trying to dig up dirt on Nathan at this point to convince herself she should not feel about him the way that she does.
I mean, just go back to her pretty much downright accusing him of pulling that stunt at Allie's ceremony.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, in her mind, she was trying to make this picture of Nathan and Allie like evilly laughing with each other, rubbing their hands together, like, we've got her. All we gotta do is just invite her to the ceremony, and she'll see that she needs to love me. Like, no.
Right. Yeah. But
yeah,
no,
again, I think she's making stuff up. She's grasping at straws.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's easy for her to be with Lucas, though, is because they don't have that deep connection. I'm sorry, they just don't.
She doesn't feel guilty.
They do have a good connection, but they don't have a deep connection.
Right.
So she doesn't feel like she would be betraying Jack in that, because she doesn't love Lucas the way she loved Jack. Does she love Lucas? Yes. But she was passionately in love with Jack. And I think the passion that we see Nathan and Elizabeth have is why we see them argue so much, because it's like, okay, right now what we're seeing is basically like you took a Coke bottle and shook it up, and then you're like barely trying, like you slowly start taking the lid off and it starts fizzing out, and you cap it back, and then you start it again and it starts fizzing out and you cap it back. That's what we're seeing right now with their arguments. Yeah. I mean, that's like the image in my mind of that's what we're seeing right now with their arguments. Okay, now I'm going back to the Elvis Presley song, All Shook Up. They're all shook up right now.
I love it. We love Elvis Presley on this podcast. Right. But yeah, I agree. I mean, and y'all, like, that's the same kind of passion that Elizabeth and Jack had. They had their fair share of fighting.
Oh,
like, they had their fair share of like knocking heads, and like their passion just overloading their systems and just being like, you know what? Like, you know, like,
So, you're calling me a goat?
I could take care of my stubbed toes all by myself. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously though. So I think Elizabeth doesn't feel guilty being with Lucas because she doesn't have the same connection, so she doesn't feel like she's betraying Jack. But with Nathan, like, she has as much, if not more, of a connection than she had with Jack, and that's where she feels like she's betraying Jack.
Yeah,
because it's like, I should never feel this way about anybody else again. Jack was my great love. I should never have that kind of love with somebody else, and Jack would want her to.
Well, I mean, they even told each other. They had their little saying. It's like what she told Jack whenever he told her at Fort Clay, something along the lines of, "We were born under the same star, but
ours aren't lucky. They're charmed."
Yeah, ours is not lucky; it's charmed. So she pretty much had this idea, like, you are my one and only soulmate. I was created for you.
My lucky star. Sorry. Okay, this is one of those list of questions. Who's more likely to break out into song in the middle of a podcast?
I just haven't gotten, like, you just haven't said something to make me, because usually I'll break out into song too. But yeah, you're definitely a lot more braver than I am.
Well, I've always said I was one of these weird people that actually didn't think musicals were quite so unrealistic of just breaking out in song in the middle of the street. Yeah. Because if I had the guts, I'd do it. So,
yeah, I'm so ready for a When Calls the Heart musical.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
But I think she really had in her mind, like, I was made for you, you were made for me, and that's it. We're going to grow old together. We're going to have kids. We're going to build that house on that land, and we're going to be together forever. What is it, Kerri?
Keep talking, or I'm going to start singing again. No, you just made me think of another song. You love me for me, and I was meant for you. Nature patterned you, and when she was done, you were all the sweet things rolled up in one. And I could keep singing it. But anyway, so everything makes me think of a song, guys. Okay? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I come back on.
yes. And so obviously it's like, and she even said, like, you know, I never thought I'd be doing this alone when raising little Jack. And she, you know, she even told Rosemary, I never thought I would love again. I never thought I would open my heart up again to anyone. I thought I would literally spend the rest of my life just raising little Jack, being a teacher of Hope Valley, having all these friendships, watching everyone else fall in love and be with them. And that's it.
I think it scares her how much she loves Nathan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think with Lucas, it's just enough to make a marriage maybe work or a relationship work. But as far as it being like this, it's not enough to overlap Jax and her and Jax. And I think it scares her just how much it's like almost the same of, it's almost like, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I'm like you, if not better, it's just like the passion she had for Jack. People are so angry because they're trying to make, you know, they're trying to put them together and make it almost like exactly like Jack and her and Jack's story is like, no, Jack is not even like Jack and Nathan are nothing alike.
No.
Not really. Not when it comes to the deep stuff.
Yeah, well, and I love that a line that Molly has said this season, that the uniform doesn't make the man. Because to me that was something that a lot of parties needed to hear, because a lot I mean, let's just be honest and not hating on Team Lucas here, but a lot of Team Lucas people just simply do not want Elizabeth with another Mountie. And
Team Lucas.
Yeah, Team Lucas doesn't want Team Lucas doesn't want Elizabeth with another Mountie. And I'm not saying
that's like their biggest that's like their biggest thing against Nathan.
Yeah,
is that he's another Mountie.
And I love that line has been said this season, that the uniform does not make the man, because Jack was an incredible Mountie. He was an incredible man, but I felt like Nathan's actually in some ways a better man than Jack was.
Well, he's got different priorities. I feel like having Allie has, because he could have been the way that Jack was before Allie came into his life.
That is true.
Having Allie changed him. So I feel like, you know, we don't know. I don't know whether or not having little Jack would have changed Jack's mindset about being a Mountie, though. Because he mentioned to Elizabeth that he wanted like a whole fleet.
I feel like their reasons for being Mounties are a lot of what drives them.
Oh yeah.
Like for Jack, his dad was a Mountie. He wanted to be just like his dad. He wanted to live
honor
up to
his
that
dad.
legacy. Yeah. For Nathan, he became a Mountie because he didn't want to be like his dad. So,
and he wanted to help people who were taken advantage of by men like his father.
Right. Well, you know, to the scene in the jail where Elizabeth goes to talk to Nathan, she says, I want to know what took you so long to tell me what happened. And he says, I felt guilty. And she's like, I don't understand. And he said, after the accident, I requested a transfer here to Hope Valley. I never met Jack, but I knew that he left behind a wife and child. And I felt that it was my responsibility to look after you, to protect you. And she said, why would you assume that? He said, I felt it was my duty. But when I found myself falling in love with you, I felt like it. Yes, I did write it down that way. And I read it that way because that's what he said. I felt like I was betraying Jack and his memory. That's why I didn't tell you. Okay, well, let me finish this out, and then I want to come back to a thought. I fell in love with you, and I think that love is always worth fighting for. When I first heard him saying, that's why I didn't tell you, I thought he was talking about Jack at that point. But when I heard that line, when I went back and rewatched it, I almost wondered if he was meaning that's why I didn't tell you I was in love with you. But that's why I never told you how I felt about you.
I think it means overall. I think it means both. In my opinion, I think it means both. Because we could obviously see that he was distancing himself at first. Like Elizabeth was always the one that kind of approached him when they the first couple of like the first season, and then a little bit in season 7, obviously. You could see that he wasn't really the one really making a whole lot of the conversations. He eventually did, kind of like halfway through season 7 towards the end, because he finally eventually asked her out before he almost got shot. And then of course in the cabin scene, you could definitely see his guilt in the cabin scene, especially had Elizabeth even got hurt. We would have really saw it.
I think that was a combination of his guilt and of his feelings for her.
Oh yeah, that's a clear segue of how he was feeling, and why he wasn't telling her, and why he a clear segue of why he didn't tell her either one of them.
Right.
For his guilt of betraying Jack and his memory.
Well, and while we're to kind of rabbit trail, kind of not, because I feel like we're kind of trying to expose a lot of Elizabeth's core fears and whatever, just to kind of say this is what she's dealing with. But her biggest fear, I mean, literally, what did she tell? Her biggest fear was Jack getting shot.
And she told Jack that.
Yeah, she's like, when that man pointed that gun at you, it was like my whole world stopped. And what was it she told Nathan when he's trying to profess his love to her? But Nathan, when you were almost shot.
And he tried to interrupt her. He's like, but listen, let me say this, Elizabeth, because he was trying to say, and he ended up saying it, I would quit the Mounties. The Mounties don't matter. Pretty much saying, like, the Mounties don't matter that much to me. Right. You matter.
Well, and I mean, even matters to me. Even the season 7 finale, though, she thought Nathan had gotten shot.
Well, I mean, a man literally yelled out, "I think it's Nathan."
Yeah, I think Nathan's been shot.
Her dead in her tracks, and then so she's obviously thinking like he thinks it's Nathan, so that's Nathan in there. And then Carson just comes out and he doesn't say who it is. He just says
he's gone.
He's gone. And it automatically was like everything just like.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's something really interesting. And guys, jokingly say we're very brutal. But I'm like, okay. It's like, okay, as much as Nathan's been through this season, just go ahead and throw a few more things on him there in the finale. He can handle it. I mean, Nathan's bulletproof. He can handle it. I didn't mean to say bulletproof. That's kind of funny because I didn't mean to say that. I actually didn't mean to say that.
Oh my God.
Because literally what I've said was, Nathan, this is going to sound bad. Sorry, Kevin, if you ever listen to this. But I feel like Nathan almost needs to get shot and survive, because that is Elizabeth's biggest fear. Like, it's not even just losing them. She has specifically said multiple times to both guys about them getting shot. And I'm like, I don't know. I just felt like.
And we'll say our predictions. And we all have our own little predictions of how the next couple episodes are going to be. But if we have time, we'll say our predictions at the end. But yeah, it was like a snap in her. Like, oh my God, this is going to happen again. If I let myself love him, if I let myself be in a relationship, I'm going to have to face this again. I'm going to have to face losing another man in my life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't blame her for having that fear at all.
Yeah. I do want to bring up something that I noticed. And I noticed when I was listening to the scene, because I went back, obviously, I was rewatching it Instagram last night. And I noticed when I was listening to it, there's saying a background noise or something. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I was like, okay, this must just be a bad quality recording. But then I saw other people pointing it out. And then when I was listening to it, when I rewatched the episode, it literally sounds like there's water running, like it's pouring down rain or something. But when the door, you can't see it outside the window, it doesn't look like it's raining. When she opens the door, it doesn't look like it's raining. And my thought was, like, it literally just sounds like water running. Like, it is either pouring down rain or you're at like a river or something. And my thought when I watched that was, oh my goodness, did the dam break? Like, the walls that have been built around their hearts, that have been holding all this back this whole time, have those walls finally broken, and all of that is rushing out, like how a dam holds back water.
Yeah.
And then if the dam breaks, that water is rushing out. So that was
wow.
I don't know, but that's just kind of what it sounds like to me. And I've heard other people pointing that out, and it just kind of makes sense in that scene.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and watch it, but I didn't notice that. But I remember somebody posting that, and it's like, is that the sound of my own tears running down my face?
Yeah, I mean,
like watching the
that's
scene.
what it sounds like, though.
No, yeah, I have to go back and listen to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, they're good enough at sound and stuff. They would not let, like, if that was an outdoor noise, that sound would have been corrected.
Yeah.
Because it's not in any other scenes. So it's like, it's not a sound problem. That they would not have let that through production. So I mean, it's a purposeful being left in there thing. So
I guess we'll just find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. But that was just kind of something that stood out to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, we mentioned the scene with Rosemary earlier and how she's even kind of snapping at Rosemary. The last scene, like, it basically bookended with Elizabeth and Rosemary. And we haven't really even touched on the hand-holding thing. We can get to that in a minute. But the last scene with Rosemary comes in the house and she's like, Elizabeth, I came by earlier to tell you that because I wanted to tell you that I ran into Nathan at the library. And Elizabeth says, Rosemary, I went to the jail to talk to Nathan about what happened at Fort Clay. He admitted to requesting a transfer here after Jack died. He said he felt responsible to look after and protect us. And Rosemary said, well, that sounds noble and selfless. Elizabeth said, I never asked him to be noble. I never asked him to fall in love with me. At the library, did you encourage Nathan in his feelings for me? Rosemary said, no. And she said, he told me love is always worth fighting for. You didn't encourage him to continue. And Rosemary said, Elizabeth, would you like me to tell you what I actually said to him, or simply assume for yourself? I only want what is best for you. And Elizabeth said, how would you know what's best for me? How would anyone know? And Rosemary said, perhaps I should leave. And Elizabeth said, perhaps you should. But in that moment, when she said, how would you know what's best for me? How would anyone know? I almost wonder if Elizabeth's questioning if she even knows. Because she sounds terrified. Like, if you look at her face right there, she looks scared. Yeah. And it's like, does she even know at this point what's best for her? Mm-hmm. I feel like she is so shaken by everything that has happened that she doesn't even know how to handle things at this point.
Well, I mean, even Nathan, whenever he confessed his love, he's like, I know you feel the same way I do. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, how are all these people knowing stuff about me that I don't even realize myself?
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I love that Rosemary finally interrupted her and she's like, do you want me to tell you what I said to him? Mm-hmm. Like, stop assuming things. Stop automatically putting words in other people's mouth. I think that was the most frustrating part for me when it came to Elizabeth's character this season, is that she automatically assumes, and that's kind of a pet peeve with me of mine. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't assume things that I've done before even trying to get my side of the story, and me just downright tell you.
Yeah. Well, I think at this point, Elizabeth's not just assuming. I think at this point, Elizabeth's making things up in her head because she is so trying to convince herself that she should not go in this direction, that she's like trying, again, you know, like in this particular case, she's accusing Rosemary of this because she's trying to find a reason not to be with Nathan. Mm-hmm. She is trying to
getting her own words thrown back at her.
She looked like she got an electric shock.
She was like,
yeah, I mean, her head was down because she was like processing and somebody pointed this out. I had not thought about this, but somebody pointed this out, that Elizabeth didn't pull away from Nathan when he stepped toward her. Yeah, she's been doing that.
Yeah, she's been doing that.
Yeah, and even when he told her, when I found myself falling in love with you, she didn't have the annoyed reaction that you would like oh, are we going here again type reaction you would expect her to have if she didn't have feelings for him.
Yeah.
One thing that I did notice, and mentioned this in the beginning of the episode that I wanted to bring this up, but in that last scene with Elizabeth and Rosemary, when Rosemary's walking out the door, I paused it and was kind of looking around because, you know, people point out like, oh, the train's here and this book's here and the turtle's here and the Mounties here and whatever. And I noticed that there was the teddy bear sitting on the table between Elizabeth and the door. Well, obviously the bear represents Jack. So Jack, if you know, just going off of how people have been speculating all this stuff, that Jack is still between Elizabeth and the door to her heart.
That's good.
So that was just something that stood out to me because I was like, because the trains, I saw several little trains. I think there was at least 2 little trains in that scene, and both of them were pointed towards Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't really know what the trains could have anything to do with anything. I didn't really see anything else specific that stood out to me. But that bear being right there. Hi.
Hi, sunshine.
But that bear being right there, I'm like, you know, Elizabeth's house represents her heart.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's why Lucas, you know, when in episode 9, she invited him in, and he looks in and he's like, I should get back to work. It's almost like he knows he does not belong in her house. He knows that would be an invasion into her heart, that he does not belong.
Even though she is inviting him in.
Yeah.
He knows that he's not meant there.
Yeah. Can we touch on the hand holding scene for just a moment?
Yes, please. As long as we do not discuss a certain matter that links to it. You know what I'm talking about.
Actually, no, I'm not sure that I know what you're talking about. Wait, I don't know if I do or not. I don't know. But
a little mascot.
Yeah. Hey, Ambrose.
He jumped on my computer again. Early wedding bells.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was what I was wondering if you meant. But yeah, guys, yes. I will just say this: if you want to trigger me, talk about the candles. If you want to trigger Morgan, talk about an early wedding. We went on a live right before this because when we did the heart to heart with the Hardys segment at the end of this, somebody that shall remain nameless forgot to post in the Insta stories to ask, you know, to let people put their little comments in. So we went live right before recording this to talk to people and kind of get their thoughts and whatever. And why was I going there? People were saying something about the maybe a last second wedding for Nathan and Elizabeth at the end of this. And of course, Morgan was getting so mad. And I tell you what, let's just make this even. Have them have a quick wedding with a ton of candles. That way me and Morgan both get mad.
No, I'm not saying I don't want them to get married. I just don't want them to get married at the end of this season.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I would be shocked if they did.
I'm even open to even maybe possibly a season 9 wedding.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not saying
I could see maybe a season 9 finale.
Yeah, like maybe get them engaged in season 9 and get married like maybe in the middle of season 10.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the finale weddings.
Same, honestly.
Which technically we're not getting a finale wedding this year. It's before the finale.
Sure.
That is
true. Well, and technically Jack and Elizabeth wasn't a finale either because they got married in season 5.
That's true.
Then
we had a couple episodes.
It feels like the finale. It's really not the finale, but it feels like the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the hand holding scene, and like I posted on my Insta story, like I went back and I'm like, it helps me a lot when I'm watching these scenes to like pause play, you know, and watch their expressions. And so I took screenshots of the scene and posted them in my Insta story and was like, okay, observation number 1, observation number 2. And like I can read those off for y'all. But I literally had people messaging me going, will you please save these to a highlight? Because these are so good. You're like doing such a great job at putting into words the nonverbal communication going on here. And I'm like,
he's very good.
Okay, sure, no problem. I was like, I've never had people text me and go, will you save this to a highlight before? So if you want to see these, you can go to the highlight in my at my Instagram, which will be linked in the show notes. But okay, so if you don't, okay, just kind of recap what's going on here. There's the bachelorette party for Ned and Florence, which of course the guys end up joining the girls again because bless Jesse's heart, he tried. Okay, he tried.
Well, I guess Nathan's baseball idea sounded pretty good then, didn't it?
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like much of a bad idea now, huh, boys?
Nope.
In fact, I want that to happen. I want Nathan to get his baseball bachelor party.
Yes.
That's what I want to do. That's what I want them to do for Nathan's bachelor.
Let the girls join the guys' party this time, and it be boys against girls.
Oh, and I want her and Nathan because Elizabeth and Jack kind of fought at their bachelor party because they were like, "Oh, you don't think I could coach? Yes. You don't think I can do this?" Like I can see Nathan kind of like teasing her, like, "Are you ready for this? Like, can you?"
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can do this." I
could see Fiona and Faith both showing up in pants. Too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I could definitely see the two of them showing up in pants.
Oh yeah, and Florence and Molly being like,
yeah.
Scandalous.
And Elizabeth. I mean, Elizabeth's a little more. Well, she's tolerant of it, but I mean, she's pretty much told Rosemary, "You'll never see me," and something like that. So
yeah, but never say never, Elizabeth. And Faith and Fiona aren't the only ones to ever wear pants, which Fiona technically hasn't worn pants yet. Jack's mom rolled up into Hope Valley with pants on.
Well, I mean, Allie is all the time wearing almost like a jumper type thing. So I mean, she quote unquote wears pants a lot.
Yeah.
Too, which I'm sorry. I know this is kind of something that Elizabeth hopefully will change as her mother, but I'm kind of ready to see Allie in something besides the same outfit that is the same color that she has been wearing since season 6. So I mean, I'm kind of ready to see her.
I think she's got a new variety. I think she's got a new jumper on this season. I mean, this coming up episode. I want to say that she has a new jumper, and I don't like the high ponytail.
I don't know. I can't say I thought a whole lot about her hair, but yeah, the little kind of pink beige whatever jumper thing with the white shirt that she's been wearing since season 6. I'm kind of ready to see that go. Sorry, apparently another trigger point.
No, I like it. I kind of agree. I am ready to see her, but we are seeing her in different outfits this season, so I'm liking that. And they're actually doing more to her hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for Elizabeth to get rid of that dang barrette and do something different to her hair. Talking about hair.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed that at the adoption ceremony that her hair was up, because that's something I wanted to see again. I'm like,
I liked that. I liked her hair up like that. It gave her more of a mother look, like a more of a motherly look, which I thought was kind of fitting because it was almost like But,
but to not to time on this, but sorry guys. But this particular scene, my brain is getting ahead of my words here. Okay, guys, I'm trying to rein myself in and come back at this. So, bachelorette party for Florence and Ned, and the guys end up joining the girls, and they start playing this blindfold game and Florence went first, but where Fiona blindfolded her, all the men were lined up, and Florence had to pick the man she was meant to be with out of that group of guys simply by holding their hands. So sorry guys, my hair's all in my face. So Florence obviously picks Ned out of the group, and Fiona's like, "Oh, you too."
She kind of cheated.
What, with Bill?
Yeah, she squeezed Bill's hands and made Bill yelp, and like he's like, and she's like, "Thank you for your assistance, Bill."
Yeah, that was cute. It was cute.
That was cute though. And then she's like, "There's my Ned," and I was like,
Yeah,
"So cute."
I know they're adorable. And then Fiona's like, "You two really are meant to be together." And then she turns around and is like, "Okay, Elizabeth, it's your turn." And Elizabeth's like, "Oh no." And all the girls are saying, "Oh, come on." The guys are telling her, "Oh, come on." You know, kind of like, "Oh, it's all in good time." When Elizabeth stands up, she looks at Rosemary with this desperate look. And Rosemary's expression changes almost like,
oh yeah,
almost like, oh my goodness, like she's scared.
yeah,
Like you could see, because Rosemary was having fun. Rosemary is one of the ones that helped come up with the games.
yeah,
And Rosemary sees on Elizabeth's face, she's in panic mode to do this. And I will say, I think it's interesting that they had her hold Carson's hand first, because apparently Paul Green said he could neither confirm nor deny that Carson was originally supposed to be the new love interest for Elizabeth. So I thought that was kind of an interesting nod that they put that in there. I kind of liked it.
I like Carson's face, you know.
Yeah,
and
it was really cute.
His little cute little expression.
Mm-hmm. But then, so Fiona is like guiding Elizabeth's hands, you know, because she's blindfolded. So she puts her hands in Nathan's. Okay, guys, I'm gonna fangirl over here. Y'all are not gonna see this stupid grin disappear for a minute. That Elizabeth and Nathan have never held hands. That cat. That their fingers brushed. What was that? Either season 6 or season 7 in the library. I think it was season 6.
Season 6. Yeah.
Yeah, because the library was still fairly new. I think it would have been season 6. That they were
like, they were building bookshelves, and the bookshelf fell apart because Lucas did it, and Lucas didn't do a good job of it.
Yeah, I was fixing to say Lucas had to have built that one.
Yeah, but that was the one that Lucas built.
Yeah, bless his heart. He was trying, poor guy.
He was trying.
His heart was in the right place. Okay.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth. So they like both reach for the book at the same time, and their fingers touch, and they look up at each other almost again like they had an electric shock or something. Yeah. Or it's going around now that they have a zing. Is the word that's going around on Instagram.
It comes from Erin's movie that she did with Tyler Haynes, that It Was Always You, where they talk about the zing.
Yeah.
So
but so Fiona puts, sorry guys, I can't help this stupid grin.
I know.
So you can tell we hated this scene, right?
I had knots in my stomach. Oh my god. I'm just
Yeah. The only way I felt this scene could have been better is if she had actually held Lucas's hands and then moved on to Nathan.
Like moved back.
That would have been good.
Oh like, yeah.
Like if Lucas had been standing,
that would have been Lucas. That would have been good.
That would have been good. That would have been. I mean, that really would have been awkward. Like the scene was awkward enough as it was. Whoa, that would have been.
Imagine Lucas's and everybody's faces. She would have said no to Lucas and like moved over and went to Nathan and said yes to Nathan.
Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe it's a good thing they didn't do that. Okay, maybe it's a good thing they didn't do that. But anyway, so Fiona puts Elizabeth's hands in Nathan's, and Nathan takes her hands, and it got me that he was, I know this thumb was like just very softly rubbing the back of her hand with his thumb, because that is such a sign of affection. Like that is a I treasure you type movement.
I loved it so much. I went back and I played that so many times. I was like, oh my god.
I know. But the way he is looking at her, when I posted in my Insta stories, I said, first observation, Nathan looks like a bridegroom. the way he is staring at her so adoringly, it's like he's seriously, and this is a second. Apparently, I still do not know how to count from last week, but this is the second. If I just not use my hands, this is the second time, actually technically third if you want to include the church scene where they're walking in the church together, that we have seen Nathan and Elizabeth in a wedding stance. Because I mean, literally, he's standing there holding her hands like they're standing there about to exchange vows. Is literally the type of stance that they have right here.
Yeah.
And the way he is looking at her so adoringly, oh my gosh. But
and then like her taking the blindfold off symbols her like taking her veil up and like away for her, away, like out from her face, you know, because usually they had the veils down. And then when they get to that, the father takes, either the father will remove the veil or they will remove the veil. And that was like her. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like either the groom or the father, depending on how they choose to do it.
Right.
Ambrose.
The second observation that I had was that Elizabeth caught her breath when she held Nathan's hands. That is something that we see with Elizabeth so many times, and I've said this umpteen times. Lucas makes her giggle like a schoolgirl with a crush, and Nathan makes her lose her breath. Like,
now, I will say this because I'm sure some Team Lucas people will chime in here. I'm sure. She did kind of hold her breath whenever Lucas was leaving the schoolhouse, but it wasn't the same kind, guys. It was the kind of like, finally, I'm getting. It was kind of like I can breathe now in a bad way.
Well, and like. Somebody asked us what we thought of her messing with her rings as Lucas walked out, but she had literally just said, like, I need to be alone to process this. So when he walks out, it almost seems like okay, I'm by myself.
I can back into my thoughts, back into my processing moment.
Yeah. And we could be wrong. We're not saying that is what she's thinking. We're just saying that's what, you know,
our interpretation is our interpretation.
Right. So my third, seriously, I'm having trouble.
Add another finger there, Kerri.
Barely using my fingers and maybe I need to use my toes. I don't know.
That would be so weird. And I'm just fumbling over here with a screwdriver for some reason.
Oh gosh. But my third observation was that Nathan is keeping steady eye contact with Elizabeth, even though she's blindfolded. He is still looking her dead in the face, and he looks so patient. He knows she feels the connection that he feels, and he's willing to wait as long as it takes for her to figure it out. That is a running thing. Like I texted you and Amy the other night and was like, what is a running theme with the two of them? Let me know when you figure it out. Can I let me know when you're ready, whatever. That is a running theme with the two of them.
But that's Nathan doing that with Elizabeth. Like,
Elizabeth has done it with Nathan too. When he called her name and was like,
cat got your tongue. Yeah, let me know when
because it was actually after that he was like, what's in your heart? And then he says, let me know when you figure it out. And she looks up and kind of grins because he just used her own words.
Yeah.
With her. Yeah. My fourth observation in that scene, this just kind of struck me as interesting. Lucas wasn't even watching at first, unlike Carson and probably everyone to the left of Lucas. I'm not sure what that means. But Lucas was not, like, you would think, okay, like, for me, if this was my boyfriend, that I'm in a lineup right here, and this was my boyfriend trying to pick me out of a group, I would be watching. I'm just saying, I would be watching. So it strikes me as interesting that Lucas was not watching Elizabeth's every move right here. Now, he did glance at her. He did eventually look at her, but it was not like he was constantly keeping his eyes on her. My fifth observation was
I would hate for it to be like an actual cockiness out of him. Like, I know she's gonna pick me.
Yeah.
I hope it's not that, but
I don't really feel like it is at this point. I don't really feel like it is. My fifth observation was Elizabeth feels a connection. The Thumb softly stroking her hand adds a sense of safety and treasuring that suggests a close connection. Interestingly enough, she's never held hands with Nathan. They've only ever brushed fingers together, but she's held Lucas's hand several times. So what does she feel that makes her smile? Because she was smiling. Like when she held Nathan's hand, she caught her breath and then she started smiling. So she felt something.
Oh yeah. There. Definitely.
And then she's like Lucas and pulls the blindfold off. And my sixth observation was Nathan's slight, hopeful smile mixed with a tad of nervousness when she removes the blindfold. It's like he's thinking, I've been trying to tell you it's me. It's always been. But I'm not sure you're ready to admit or accept that yet. So how are you going to respond to this realization?
Yeah.
And then
she didn't I'll let you say your observation because it's kind of what you're about to say.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, just no, you're good. The seventh observation was that Elizabeth didn't look too unhappy about picking Nathan. It wasn't an immediate look of shock. It was like she just and then eighth observation. Oh, wait a second.
People are here.
Yeah.
We're not by ourselves.
Not the observation. Wait, my boyfriend's standing right beside you. I was supposed to pick you, wasn't I? And then I posted, I took like screenshots of like just before their hands touched and then when she's holding his hands and posted both of those with the quote, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I've had people text me going, that is perfect. But I mean, seriously though, that scene, oh my word, it was just so telling for the two of them. And another thing too that we were mentioning this. Okay, who was it that sent it to me? Hang on. So I give credit to the correct person here. I sent this to you too. Delina Aldridge. She has been joining our Instagram lives and stuff. And she messaged me this. A lot of times over this past season that when Lucas has been watching Elizabeth and Nathan interact, he's had his little teacup over there. And but in the preview for episode 10, when he's watching them interact, he has mail in his hand, like letters in his hand. And she said, I think he finally gets the message. And I went, whoa.
Yeah, when she told me that, I went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And guys, we're not reading too much into this because Aaron and them literally teased us and we're like, y'all like to look into the props, look into the clothing, look into the music, look into everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that makes total sense because either he doesn't have anything in his hands. Usually he either he doesn't have anything in his hands or he's got the teacup in his hand or now we see him with mail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
that does make perfect sense. And I'm just like, whoa, mind blown here.
Yeah.
Another thing that we got sent, Alicia Chamberlain from our Instagram lives sent me something and said, the gift that Lucas sent through Elizabeth to Allie and Nathan for the adoption. Yeah. That in this episode, in episode 9, Allie brought, we mentioned Allie having that conversation with Lucas at the beginning of this episode, which we loved. Like, seriously, that was the adorable scene. But that she brings that gift back to him and it's still unopened. But so, I mean, that gift, it just kind of seems like there's got to be something to it. I don't know, but
because we've never seen any of the other, like for instance, Little Jack's christening gifts. We never found out what was in Nathan's gift.
Right. Yeah.
I think that it could have been the little Mountie figurines. I feel like Nathan made those, but I could be wrong.
That's a good point.
And she was holding the Mountie figurine in the beginning of the episode whenever she was writing in her journal.
Well, and in the episode when Helen points him out when he's playing with that, you notice the horse is brown and Jack had a black horse.
Yep. And Nathan knows that Sergeant is Jack's. because I'm sure it was in. So
yeah. But Alicia said, what if it's a framed picture of that picture that Carson took of Nathan and Elizabeth at Jesse and Clara's wedding? And she's like, what if it's that picture of Allie's two favorite people in the world? And that like just hit me. I'm like, oh my goodness, because Lucas, to me, I could be wrong, I feel like Lucas knows he's the man in the middle. I feel like he knows Elizabeth ultimately has more feelings for Nathan than she does for him, that he has been playing the odds this whole time. Remember, Lucas is a gambler. I feel like he's been playing the odds.
He likes his odds. He likes the odds.
And it's like, to me, and it could not be, guys, we're just theorizing here.
Yeah.
But it was like, if he were to give Allie that to me would almost be his way of saying, I'm out of the picture. No pun intended.
You and your puns this episode. I love them.
Oh my word. What was it I said on the live last night? I don't even remember. There was something that I said. Oh, guys, okay, slight spoiler alert. Somehow or another, link on our live late last night after we discussed the episode, somehow or another, Hope Valley met Star Wars. And so it was going off in a really crazy direction. And I was like, boy, this is taking a dark turn. Or like, this is something like that. And y'all didn't even catch it. I had to repeat it. But guys, no joke, there is gonna be an episode about that coming up. I mean, I still have to watch Star Wars. I have never watched Star Wars, but there is gonna be that episode coming up.
Y'all, I grew up watching Star Wars, and that's how we got onto this. Like, somebody put something in the comments, and like, I grew up watching Star Wars because of my older brother and my dad. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling Kerri, I said, you need to watch them. They're really good, especially if you like sci-fi.
I remember how we got off on all that, because I was saying that something got said about Star Wars, and I was saying that the scene between Princess Leia and Han Solo, that when she says, I love you, and he just said, I know. And I said, that would be totally an answer that Nathan would give Elizabeth if she said, I love you, because he knows. He's already told her, I know he feels. So that's how we got off on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, continue with your story.
But so I told Kerri that, you definitely need to watch it. Like, she says she's watched a few clips from the movies, but not as like actually like binge like the whole movies. And I told her, I said, you need to do it, and I'll try and give you like what order to watch them in and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And y'all, I'm telling you, our live seeps like really pretty late, because we do them like as soon as the episode's over, and usually the episode's over like around 9:00 at night, my time.
Yeah, 10 o'clock my time.
10 o'clock her time. And so we're not getting off live until like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. Probably sometimes even 1 o'clock in the morning, depending on how big the episode was. Yeah. And so this is a product of serious delirium.
Yeah.
So y'all are in for a treat.
And I just have to say, we have the most incredible people that join our lives that have just as crazy of imaginations as we do, because they're the ones that spearhead a lot of what ends up happening on here. I will just say that, which is one reason that we brought the Heart to Heart with the Hardys segment on here, because we have fun just ourselves, if you can't tell that. We've already been on here for almost an hour and 40 minutes just between the two of us talking. So much for keeping this for 45 minutes, guys. Okay, we keep
telling ourselves that we're only going to do this for 45 minutes, and we never do it. Because we know that that's kind of like the sweet spot of YouTube. Like, nobody's going to sit here and watch a 2-hour podcast. And I'm just like, we're never going to do that. I told Kerri, I said, we're never going to be able to just talk about this show for 45 minutes.
I thought
Never.
we were, honestly. Like, I thought we could make it happen. At this point, I don't think so.
Not.
I don't think so.
We can't even keep it at an exact hour. We're always like an hour and 15, an hour and 30, an hour and 45. I'm like, golly.
Hey, we have some good stuff that come out of these. But
it's worth it in my opinion.
It is to me, yeah. But that's one reason that we brought that segment on here, because like as much fun as she and I have doing this, part of the fun of the lives is interacting with people in the comments. And I mean, we get sassy. Like, I mean, we've got this one girl that will start tagging, mainly Kevin, that she'll start tagging.
Shout out to Bella.
Yeah, shout out to Bella. She'll start tagging Kevin, Pascal, Aaron.
And Paul has opened it. He hasn't been on the live, but he has seen her messages at least 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, you're fixing to get blocked by him if you keep this up.
Right? And then Angie comes up with some of our best stuff, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Angie comes up with some incredible stuff.
Yeah.
When we went live,
we love her because she's kind of like, because she talks about how we're old enough to be her daughters and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, we're like, you're another, like, you're like a Mama Hardy that we love to interact with. Like, because she'll bring in points of like her husband and all this kind of stuff. And it just makes it. We love Angie.
Yeah. And Amy, that was on our last podcast.
Of course.
We get to go on with her in the comments, and y'all know we're all sassy as all get out.
Like I said, when you get 2 Cajuns together.
Yeah. And Michaela.
We need our Georgia peach to sweeten things up.
I'm not much help. I mean, let's just admit it. I'm not much help.
No, if anything, she's like the lemon that adds to the fire. Like, is like.
Yeah. But yeah, like Michaela, we pick on her all the time. She was like, y'all are, what was it she said on our live earlier, that something about that I don't remember how she worded it. It was like that basically we were calling her out or just being mean to her or whatever, and it's like, that's because you know us, we love you, we can do like we can get away with.
Well, no, because she said that she was mainly watching the lives because of me.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, thanks a lot, Michaela.
Yeah, because I've known her longer. So guys, if you do not join our lives on Sunday nights after the episodes, which granted, season 8 is almost over, so I don't know how much we'll still be going live after season 8. People are still going to be messaging us, wanting us to go live, so we're still going to have to go live.
Like, what are we going to be talking about? The season's over. Like, what do you want us to talk about?
You really think we're going to have trouble coming up with something to talk about?
No.
Me neither.
No.
But if you do not watch our lives, I encourage you to, because like with us, we're fixing to go into the heart to heart with the Hardys, and that was just kind of something that we brought on here because we do miss having that in the comments thing, the interaction with people that just make us lose it laughing. We love y'all so much. Y'all are incredible. Crinny, like, she knew we were fixing to come on here and record this, and she took a picture of our YouTube channel and posted it and tagged us and was like, anybody else just keep hitting refresh, like just waiting on the next podcast episode to come out? And we're like, guys,
it's so surreal because like, we aren't saying this. I know we hear celebrities say this all the time, but we would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for people like you who are watching these episodes, who are making comments, who are joining our lives and joining us in there and like talking and egging us on, or talking about like how much we encourage you. Like, we get so many people talking about how they literally cannot wait to watch our lives or look at our posts because we're so encouraging to them to keep watching the show despite what the outcome is.
We've literally had people tell us basically we're their therapist, that watching our lives is therapy. It helps.
Yeah, exactly.
Michaela actually was texting me earlier. I was messaging with her, and I think she was cracking up at my Insta story where I was like breaking everything down and really kind of being sarcastic with it. And she was like, y'all's comments throughout the week keep me sane and have me feeling like just giddy by the time the next episode comes out. And I'm like, I hope that's a good thing. She's like, yeah, it's a good thing, So apparently our special guest in the background.
This is Jax, guys. This is my boxer. Jax,
but
stop it. You're on camera. Behave.
Smile, you were on candid camera.
There she goes again, guys.
We just a musical episode one time, okay?
I know that we've you hear celebrities talk about this and all that kind of stuff, but we really truly cannot tell you guys just how thankful we are for your support and your love and you guys watching these videos, you commenting, subscribing, liking, sending
Sharing.
us messages, sending us your thoughts and your theories. Y'all help us so much and y'all give us so much love and support that keeps us going with these things and keeps reminding us that, we do this not really just for that. We do this because it's just fun for us to be able to talk about the show. But adding you guys to the mix just amps it up, and it just makes it so much better. Even better than we could have ever imagined it. We do this for you guys, and we do it for ourselves because even we need these conversations and stuff.
Yep.
So thank you guys. We love you guys so very much. Kerri finally figured out how to do the hearts. So
proud of myself.
Her.
Proud of myself. Finally figured it out. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you're good.
Close enough.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I guess no further ado than to end this episode with a heart to heart with the hearties.
Let's do it. All right. Go for it.
So I wrote down some of the comments. You guys didn't have a whole lot of comments this episode, but that's okay. We understand. There's so much going on.
Yeah. Well, so when we get on our lives, people have a tendency to not stick to the topic. So that's kind of what happens.
So Nathan's guilt mirrors Elizabeth's grieving.
Yeah.
That was one of the comments. Yeah, we definitely agree there. We definitely see some mirroring going on. They both feel guilty for loving one another. They both feel guilty that they're moving on and that their love could be I don't think he says tarnished. I think he said going against Jack's memory. They both feel that.
Betraying.
Yeah, betraying his memory. They both feel like they're both betraying his memory. And then of course, which we talked about Elizabeth being in the anger stage.
Betraying Jack and his memory. That was what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Elizabeth in the anger stage, Noah Stanton and Peter with their plaque. Elizabeth can only feel love for little Jack right now. And I think what she meant there is she's never gonna feel guilty for loving her son.
Right.
But feeling guilt, but she feels she feels guilty for loving Nathan and probably even having some love for, and also she could also be feeling guilty for loving for being with Lucas while still having feelings for Nathan too. Because she said the only thing that makes sense is loving little Jack. So that could also bleed into her relationship with Lucas too, feeling guilty for loving Nathan while being in a relationship with Lucas.
Well, she told Lucas that she didn't want to be put in the middle of it either.
Yeah.
But I think to go along with that with little Jack, the sneak peek that ET just released from episode 10, where when Ned was like, look how that turned out, whatever, he was referring to little Jack. And Elizabeth was like, even though that should have made me happy, there were still times that basically I was just still so caught up in the grief of it and whatever that I didn't recognize some of the good moments. I don't remember, that's not how she worded it, but I don't remember how she worded it. So even in that Elizabeth is acknowledging that even she's not always able to give everything to her son because of her grief. So.
And that right there should go ahead and tell you just how bad she is with the grief for her to say that about little Jack. We all don't have, I understand a lot of people are that she's being so neglected of him this season. And I do think that little Jack is the one that's going to go missing. I could be wrong. This is my theory, my thought. But I don't think it's because she's neglecting little Jack. I think a lot of it just boils down to the fact that of COVID. Someone even pointed out that they think that all of the scenes that little Jack has been that they've shot with Lil Jack have been all in one day, just to kind of go ahead and get all of his stuff filmed. Because if you think about it, he's literally only on the screen for like a split second, and then he's taken off.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past them to just go ahead and shoot all of Lil Jack's scenes in one go.
Yeah, possibly.
But I feel like that's the number one reason why we haven't seen Lil Jack a whole lot this season. But the reason why I say that Lil Jack is the one that goes, but the reason why I say this about Lil Jack is like, we know without a shadow of a doubt that Elizabeth is madly in love with her son.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she adores her child. She loves her child. She worries about her child. She cares about her child. Like, she is a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you one thing. I'm sure all the other. I'm not a mother. I have a mother, obviously. And no mother is perfect. No mother, like, there's no mother on earth that has not made a mistake. That has not, that has not been perfect.
Right.
So again, cut Elizabeth some slack.
Yeah.
Give her some grace, even when you feel frustrated, even when you feel angry with her. And please, once again, don't send hate to the actors.
Right.
Or Brian Bird or John Tinker or any of the writers, if you're following them, like, just don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing that's important to remember too, because I know a lot of people have been like, okay, yeah, but she's had time for this, whatever, she should be over it by now. Everybody grieves in their own way. Everybody grieves at their own pace. And I know, I know somebody that lost somebody a year ago, that they still, like, they have moments where you can tell they're moving on, they're moving forward, whatever. And then there's other times that they're just consumed with the grief. And like, the other members of their family are like, what about us? Do we not matter? Just almost like, you still have us. And it's like, but that grief has just so consumed them. And,
Well, the thing
yeah,
is like,
in some people's eyes, they should have moved on by now, but who's to say when? I mean, who's to say that?
some people like
need a little love and affection.
he gets like this, guys. He is an attention hog. What I was gonna say was that some people don't ever stop grieving.
Right.
They might even, like you said, may even move on, remarry, all that, and they still will have their days. Whether it's on their anniversary, birthday, or something, or maybe it's just a random day in October, and they don't want to get out of bed, they don't want to leave their house, they're curled up in their pajamas and they're grieving.
Yeah.
And everyone has a right to grieve their own way. Like, who are any of us to tell someone whether or not they're grieving right or not? Now, yes, there is an unhealthy grieving, like if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're, that kind of thing. But Elizabeth is taking care of herself, and she's taking care of her son, but she's grieving. She's
that was one thing that was brought up in one of the videos that I watched on grief, was that basically, just because you've gone through all of the processes doesn't mean that there's not going to be those times that something's going to bring it back up, so that you never 100% get over that. I know I've said it for myself. Like, I mentioned this an episode or two ago, that I have been in love, and although I'm not anymore, there's that side of me that I'm like, you never 100% get over somebody that you've been in love with. And it's just like, give her some slack for being human,
Yeah. And these stories need to be told, you guys, because there's a woman out there or a man out there who probably looks at Elizabeth and they're like, oh my God, that's me. She is literally like I saw an interview. It was whenever the whole cast got together, and they did the season 7. They did a season 7 panel together with Deidre. And Pascal said she had a woman talk to her and pretty much tell her that she's going through exactly what Rosemary's going through right now with her infertility. And she's like, I saw the look on your face, and I'm like, wow, that's a look I've given my husband 1,000 times already. I know that look. I know exactly how you're feeling. And sure enough, whenever you had when you finally discussed it, it was almost like a weight was lifted off my shoulders.
Mhm.
And like, and she was blown away. She talked about how blown away she was that this actually impacted someone this big. There is someone out there who's having this same impact with Elizabeth's grief. And there's probably someone out there who feels the same way that Nathan feels with his survivor's guilt.
Mhm.
So please be kind and understand that this may not be a storyline that you want or like seeing or whatever, but understand that this is something that's real.
Yeah.
This is not just for the views. This isn't just for the storytelling. This isn't just to put a bump in Nathan and Elizabeth's story. This is real. This is authentic.
Yeah.
So be kind, show love, show mercy, show grace, because you never know when you're going to be the one going through that.
Yeah.
I know she's a character, and I get that. Like, maybe I shouldn't be putting so much depth into it, but
No, I agree with you.
yeah. I just think that, people need to start understanding that just because you don't feel that way about losing someone, or you've never experienced that grief, doesn't mean it doesn't exist in somebody else's life. So
100%.
all right, guys.
We done?
Well, I guess we can not end on such a note that I just put.
Well, one thing that we didn't mention, I just thought of this, and we'll try to keep it quick because we're at like an hour. I've got a stopwatch over here, guys. So this is how I know how long we've been on. We're at like an hour and 56 minutes, whatever. So this is probably
2 hours.
Yeah, this is gonna be our longest episode yet. But I feel like it's been good. I feel like this has been a very needed subject with a lot of people. But because like over the past couple episodes, we talked a lot about Allie and stuff that she's been going through. So I think specifically digging into Jack, what Jack's wishes would be, Elizabeth's feelings, Nathan's.
Yeah, we never mentioned the fact that Jack, like we mentioned the last time, Jack wouldn't have wanted Nathan to die because then he would know that Allie would have been left all by himself. But that's all I'm going to say because we mentioned the last episode. Yeah. But once again,
but that one thing that somebody did ask us to mention that we haven't mentioned is apparently Allie has a new crush. He looks too young for her. I'm sorry.
He does look too young. He looks. They're cute, but I see that. I think we're fixing to see another mini love triangle, guys. Because
I have to admit, I would kind of like it.
I would too. I would too. But because Jada posted some pictures of her with the actor. His name is Everett, who is playing Florence's son.
Paul, I think is his name.
Yeah, I think his name is Paul.
Yeah, his character name is Paul. Yeah.
Yes. The actor's name is Everett. But she posted pictures of her with Everett, and she posted pictures of her with Everett and Robert, and then a picture of Robert and Everett together. So we might be seeing a little bit of a triangle, guys, a little mini triangle. Maybe it won't go so badly for Allie.
Maybe not. Maybe this won't drag out 2 seasons. I don't know. They've got to come up with some kind of drama for season 9. So, and
I can see Elizabeth sitting her down, being like, "Girl, don't do that, Ed.
Trust me, don't go there." Yeah. Speaking of season 9, guys, if you're watching this, kind of like as it's being released or listening to it, John Tinker apparently did just share on Facebook that basically right now is the window of opportunity to let Hallmark know that you do want a season 9.
A season 9. Yeah.
So flood Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, tag them, comment on their post. Hashtag season 9 would be divine is kind of the one that the Hardys have come up with. But just somehow or another, let Hallmark know we do want a season 9 of When Calls the Heart. But that was something that I saw right before we came on here, that Star Wars Byline,
I did see that
on Instagram, that John Tinker had just shared that on Facebook. So definitely go do that so we can
And we'll put the hashtag back down in the storyline just in case anybody just wants to like copy it and paste it. I know sometimes it's hard to do like the hashtags sometimes, especially when it's a long one. But yeah, flood Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Because guys, we do want a season 9. I mean, come on, we want these stories to continue, especially if you're a Team Nathan person. You want to be able to finally see Nathan and Elizabeth actually together. And plus, we want to see Lucas finally find some love. You know, some serious only you I love. So but we got so many other storylines. Like we want to see Clara and Jesse finally get into some happiness with their marriage after they get over this hump. And
I want to see Rosemary and Lee as parents.
Yes, we want to see a pregnant Rosemary.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And then of course we want to see what they actually end up doing. Like, is Rosemary going to become mayor? Is Lee going to finally start using that wood shop?
I feel like Rosemary is more likely to start the newspaper.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun, y'all.
That's something that has gotten brought up in our lives, and we can go into.
And they mentioned it in this episode because Clara said to Lee, you know, we need a newspaper.
I will say, you know, kind of just another. I don't know if it was a hint or not, but if you listen to Paul Green's, I should remind me, Morgan, to link Paul Green's interview with Kevin in the show notes. But if you listen to that, somebody had asked, like at the end of it, Paul had taken in questions from people for Kevin, and they were talking about the singing thing. Like, would Nathan be singing to Elizabeth? And Kevin's like, I don't really feel like that's at this point something that Nathan would do. I don't think he's that comfortable, I guess, because I mean, to just pick up a guitar and start singing to somebody, that takes some comfort, that takes some confidence, and whatever. But he said something about maybe in season 9.
Don't you guys want to see Kevin McGarry sing on the show? I know I do.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about it is, why would, if, again, I feel like that's a little bit of a spoiler, because if, and I could be wrong, if Lucas is endgame with Elizabeth, why would Nathan be singing to her in season 9?
Kevin has definitely given us some stuff that has really been able to actually.
I mean, I don't know, guys.
He's walking the line between spoiler and non-spoiler, because, like, I'm telling you, he's giving us some stuff to chew on.
Can I start singing one more song?
Fine.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time.
Oh my God, Johnny Cash!
The ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Oh boy. Okay, so are we ending on our concert?
Yes.
All right. Hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all want us to keep singing, put in requests and we'll start doing some covers. No. We need to do a musical episode. We need to do a musical mashup episode. That would be hilarious. Oh my word.
Okay, if you do watch Paul Green's live, then you understand that he himself has said it does not sound good over Zoom.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Well, I mean, it could be not us trying to sing together, but like you singing a song, me singing a song, type thing, whatever, where we're not trying to sing together. We can do that.
But I will say this. We are making plans to meet up one day. We don't live that very far from one another, you guys. And you never know. We might, meet up somewhere and be like, you know what? You never know.
You never know. But yeah, so thank y'all so much for sitting here and listening to us for 2 hours and 4 minutes and however many seconds that we've been on here.
You guys are real troopers.
You are.
You guys have watched if you've watched this whole episode, you're real troopers.
Yeah, for real. But if y'all have any specific, I was joking around about the songs. I mean, if you want us to sing a song, that's fine. But I'll just say it, if y'all have any specific topics that you would like us to discuss or whatever, leave us any comments, any constructive criticism, whatever. If you tell us we need to shut up, sooner than we shut up. We'll work on it, but try to say it nicer than that.
No hate. Keep it PG. This is a safe space.
It is. Yes. Yeah. But we love you guys so much. Thanks for sticking with us this whole time. And I can't wait for these last 3 episodes.
Y'all, we're almost to the finale.
Oh, my word. Oh, the one other thing. Sorry, quick thing. They wanted us to bring up the picture that Brian Bird leaked that is apparently from the finale.
Let me see if I can actually pull it up so people can see.
Yeah. But sorry guys, we keep remembering stuff. This is why our podcast takes so long. But let me see, hang on. You sent it to me.
I think it was Nicole. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you're good. I don't know that it was Nicole that actually sent it to me.
No, it's not Nicole. Who is it? Was it Crinny?
Oh, it might have been. Hang on. Yeah. Let me try to find her.
No, it wasn't Crinny. Was it Ellie?
Nope, it wasn't. Who was it? I don't know.
I love how we can't find this.
Right? Oh, hang on. I know where we can find it. Hang on. Or at least could find it. Watch, I'm having to take it down now. Oh, no, here we go. Okay. Okay, here's the actual picture. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yeah, you can. It looks good.
Okay, this is on Star Watch Byline on Instagram. This is where I'm finding the picture.
And y'all, she's got big, bold, tears in her eyes.
Yeah. But, I mean, that picture that I just took down, that picture, does that not look like when Elizabeth was running after Jack and watching him ride off from the Northern Territories? That's the look on her face right there. It's that anguish.
Yeah.
But Brian Bird said, Hardy's, I landed on this moment and realized I was watching the season 8 finale episode. It was too late for me to withdraw this tweet. So sorry. Okay, first of all, there's such a thing as delete. So yeah, that's just Papa Hardy being his
teasing self.
Yeah, his stirring the pot self. But so who knows? I don't know.
I have my theories, but
yeah.
If you want to hear our theories, comment below and we might talk about our theories in our next episode.
Yeah.
You want to say goodbye? You
yep.
Say goodbye. Hey, bye.
Bye.
Once again, we love you guys. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We're also on Twitter. I'll give her my handle and our Hope Valley Central Station Twitter account also in the description, in the story notes. And once again, we love you guys so very much. We cannot wait to do another podcast. We hope you guys will join our lives. We're just as fun on there, if not more. It's pretty chaotic. I'd say more. Yeah, we're definitely a lot more chaotic on our lives. But yeah, once again, we love you guys. And yeah,